Hello and God bless. Kind of a strange thing's been happening to me the past week or so, and God always puts people in your life at just the right time. And this guy on Facebook that he put in my life kind of triggered something to help me remember. And this has been going on for a few years, and I'm not saying I know the day or hour or anything like that, but what I am saying is obviously most of us know that we're in the season. And we've been saying that. All right, we've been saying that for several years, actually. So how do we know that this month or next month could be any different? Well, a couple things that I've been shown, and one thing the Lord told me is like, just like a pregnant woman, you never know the day or hour she's going to give birth, and that's the new age, and that's the kingdom being birthed. You're not going to know the day or hour, and obviously God has reserved that day. However, there are definitely things that can key us into, I think, a time frame, and I think that's what God has shown me. And I just want to share a couple things with you, um, and let me see what you think. Obviously, First Thessalonians 5:3-10, for when they say peace and safety, and we know this is going on right now, that the groundwork for this to be said is being laid. And we know with Obama going out of office, most of us think that Obama's not going to stay in office, that Trump won't have his time to be president, Obama's the last president, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those things may be true. I have my own feelings about Donald Trump, and they're not good. I'll put it that way. But the the point is, I'm making everything's coming to the point. Everything's coming to the end of the funnel. Everything's coming to a head. And what I want you to understand is what the Lord has told me in reference to this is there's a birth and there was a conception. And I have a couple of videos on my channel that talk about conception with Comet Ison. And I think you're going to be pretty amazed here what you see. Okay, so we know that day should not overtake. And overtake in this sentence, or this verse, means seize, possess, apprehend, attain, come upon, comprehend, find, obtain, perceive, overtake. So this day is not going to surprise you. It's not going to be, you're not going to know it, all right, but it's also not going to overtake you. Now, there's a lot of interesting things with light. We're going to talk about light for a second. Okay, you are children of light. Okay, of course, God is light. We are children of God. Okay, you are children of light and children of the day. We are not of night nor of darkness. So we know what's going on. Okay, we have our fingers, I like to say, on the pulse of the world. God, of course, is light, and this is in 1 John 1:5, and in him is no darkness at all. We are the children of light. We are the children of God. You are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. Let your light shine before men. Okay? Okay. So just what I want you to do is keep this in mind. We are children of light. Is God saying something here? Let's take a look. A few years ago, I was in prayer. I was in my truck, as I do many times, and I asked the Lord a question. Lord, if the new age comes upon as a woman giving birth, in other words, it is unknown at which time she will give birth, but there are labor signs, there are indicators that we know that she's getting ready to have child. The water breaking, Hoover Dam, which I believe will be a big one. Was there ever a conception, all right, for us to see? And some of you may have known. Okay, at this point, I had to pull over. The Lord overtook me, and what He told me was Comet Ison. And He actually said to me, "You've studied this before." It kind of surprised me, but anyway. So I went back to Comet Ison. I started looking at it much closer, and this is what I saw. It was a galactic conception. Okay, this is what conception looks like. It's a model: the egg, the female, and the sperm of the male. And this, of course, is Comet Ison, November 28, 2013. This was conception. And I begin to look at the anatomy of the sun and of the comet, and they're very interesting between the woman's egg and the sun. This, of course, is the sun, and this is the woman's egg. This, of course, is the comet, and this, of course, is the sperm. Light has a very special speed, 186,400 miles per second. Okay? This is mentioned also, this is just another reference from Cornell University. The number in the tribe of Judah was 100,000 and fourscore 6,400, which is 186,400 people. This was the census they took when they numbered everybody. These shall be the first set forth. Very interesting. These shall be the first to break camp set forth. Okay. Comet Ison had length that even reflected this number. So if we know 186,400 miles per second, Comet Ison was 186,400 miles in length. This is Comet Ison here. This is, different comets here. I think one was Halley's Comet, was 74,000 miles long, so a little bit longer than this one. We can go on and on about the comet. There's a much stuff that goes along with this. It was November 28, 2013. It was both Thanksgiving and Hanukkah on that day, which hardly ever happens. Judah means thanksgiving and praise. Hanukkah is the festival of light. So what does all this mean? What am I trying to tell you? Okay, listen, just keep listening to me. There's a study that went around a long time ago when I first got born again, and I started looking at 9/11, and the Lord was trying to tell me exactly who the government worships and everything else. Well, as I'm doing this study, I come across that Jesus Christ possibly was born on 3 December, September 11th. And boom, right away in my spirit, I knew that was true. You know why? Because of the attacks that happened on that day. What greater day for Satan to celebrate death, destruction, and war than on the birth of Christ? It makes so much sense. You got to look at that in the spiritual sense, as we do not battle flesh and blood, but principalities, rulers of darkness in high places. They set this all up, okay? They set this all up, and those attacks happened on that day, the day Jesus Christ was brought into the earth. The twin towers, the two pillars were destroyed, and they're going to make obviously the one, okay, which will be another way Satan likes to mimic God. And you can get into the whole twin vines and two towers and DNA markers, and I'm not going to get on with that. What I want you to understand is, if this is true, which I 100% believe it, that Jesus Christ was born on September 11th, what a perfect day for Satan to have destruction here. Okay. You can Google. There's several articles. This is one I just copied and pasted for this study here. Now, last year about this time, and today is Friday, November 25th. I want to say it was like the 1st of December, somewhere in December, like December just started. I got up and I was just walking to the kitchen as normal, and I heard sneak attack so prevalently in my spirit that I stopped walking and stood there, and I didn't know what to think. And I heard sneak attack, and then I heard Pearl Harbor, and I was like, that's right, December 7th, 1941 was the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was a sneak attack from the Japanese. And then, of course, my mind started strolling, and I'm like, are we out of here this year? Are we getting nuked on the 7th? What's going on? And I really was kind of freaking out. And I did a video on it, and there was a movie out at that time called Krampus, I think. Yeah, there was a movie called Krampus, and it was a comedy, and everything going bad before Christmas, and 3 days before Christmas, all these things start to come together, and then they Google it and watch the trailer. We'll just go there. But anyway, this started happening, and there was a lot of other little things around Christmas, and I did a video of it. Is this going to be a dark Christmas this year? I didn't think anything of it. Of course, Christmas came and went, and I was like, well, I guess I was wrong. Well, I don't know when I saw this, but I was like, what's this all about? And I'm subscribed to this guy, Enter the Stars, and he came out with this video called Jesus, the Pearl in the Harbor. His egg was in Mary on December 7th. And as I started thinking about this, I said, you know what? What another day for an attack. The day that Jesus Christ was conceived would be them bombing the womb in the spiritual sense, the enemy bombing the womb of Mary. So I'm going to play this video for you now.
Today, Jesus was conceived in 3755. We're now in the year 5775. We will be until just after 9/11 of 2015. 55 is a very important number. Jesus had to come as a man. In the year 3755, on December 7th, in our calendar, the year prior, before 9/11 when he was born, December 7th was Pearl Harbor. And it just so happens that the pearl inside the harbor of Mary was being developed and released on exactly that day, December 7th. The pearl in her harbor would come down, and on December 19th, Jesus would be conceived 2 weeks later. And from the time the pearl came down, 40 weeks later, Jesus came out of the belly of the beast, human, 40 weeks. Now when the waters broke, the waters of the flood broke from the womb. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Can you see the analogies here? He would live 40 years. He would be tempted 40 days. Now, 55 is a very important number. I want you to look down at your hands and open them. I want you to count the fingers on each hand. Jesus had to become a man. 55. His hands were pierced, each one. 37, 55. To remind us what he had to do. We're now in the year of 5775, the Hebrew calendar. What might that mean? 77 and 55. What do those numbers mean to you? There are 66 books in our modern Bible. Do you think God would make a Bible with 66 books in it, knowing the Antichrist would have the number of 666? Really? Why is it so hard for people to believe that some books are missing when Jesus warned the scribes and the Pharisees? If you knew the future, would you tell your children not to eat cookies out of the cookie jar if you already knew they weren't going to eat the cookies out of the cookie jar? No, you'd be speaking for nothing. Why would Jesus warn the scribes and the Pharisees if they wouldn't be taking and removing books, adding books in, changing the meaning of the word? Because they would in fact do it. And books are missing. Now 66 plus 11 is 77. And Jesus was born on 9/11 with 111 days left until the end of the year. I don't know how many total books there are in the Bible. I just know there are some missing. And Enoch is one of them. So again, Jesus was conceived on December 21st, the darkest day of the year, to bring light to the world. And his egg would descend only 2 weeks before that, on December 7th. So in effect, he came into the world, or his spirit did, on the 7th. And he was buried on the 7th day of the Sabbath. So there's your 77. And we are in the year 5775. We have the life of Jesus encoded in that and we are at 2020 years since he was born. Now, an interesting thing happened on the cross at Golgotha. Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified. Golgotha means skull. And Jesus was in the middle of two thieves. Now, the life of a rabbi begins his service at 30 years old until he's 50.
Okay, so my point is, and you can finish that if you want. My point is this: if Satan attacked us on Satan's, I'm sorry, if Satan attacked the world, America, on the day of Jesus Christ's birth, do you think the next attack could be the day that he was conceived? It's just something to think about. I don't know all the answers, obviously, but I do find that very interesting. Star says that her egg came down on the 7th. Conception happened on the 21st of December. There's an interesting sign. Now, this is where I'm just going to kind of go over this quickly, okay? But what you have here, this is 2013 calendar. This is Hanukkah and Thanksgiving. This is the day Comet Ison hit the sun. Now, 25 days prior to that was a very rare, the 8th one since Christ, hybrid solar eclipse. Could this have been the egg releasing? I don't know. It was on Rosh Hashanah, which is the darkest day of the year. Once again, just putting things together here. That's all I'm doing. Obviously, we know it was 100 seconds in duration. We know the average ovarian cycle is 28 days. Now, with this eclipse, there was a very interesting thing about this eclipse that we'll get into here in a second. Once again, the hybrid solar eclipse, 25 days later, we have Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. That's the day the comet hits the sun, the day of conception. Rosh Hashanah begins the new month of Kislev, known as the month of hope, dreams, and darkness. This month is the darkest of the year. Ours starts November 30th this year of 5777. That hybrid solar eclipse, okay, back in November. This is a picture of it in New York City. The sun and moon rose at the same time at eclipse at 6:35 on the 3rd. The sun set in Jerusalem at exactly 4:44 p.m. at eclipse. The sun and the moon set at 4:44. Right there. Most of us have seen 4:44. I remember I kept seeing it and I asked the Lord about it, and this is what he told me. It was a movie released. 4:44, the last day on Earth. So anyway, guys, that's what I have. Now, there's a lot of other signs going on. Jupiter's in Virgo. There's a lot of stuff going on in Virgo. I haven't looked at it recently, but I know that there's a friend of mine on Facebook that's showing a lot about Jupiter and how it was eclipsed by the moon the other day. So regardless, just we know that this time is getting short, and I just wanted to present this to you. Could that be? That's the whole point of this. Could our next attack be the day that Jesus Christ was conceived? Could that be the big rapture that we are waiting for? The bombing of the womb, essentially. But God bless you all, and thank you very much.